Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today we're going to start with updates. It has been a hot, muggy day today. The sun is just going behind the tree, so my new bonsai area here is in the shade. So let's start with the small leaf linden. Here it is. It is just about out in flower. You can see the flowers haven't opened up yet. So they'll be coming soon. My maple here that had the Y-shaped root system, it looked like this, and I cut off the one, is doing really well. It's got a lot of new growth coming on it now. It's gaining vigor all the time, so that's good. It means the new, that one part of the root system is taking off and growing. So that's good to see. A lot of the larches survived, the ones that I root pruned and the rabbits top pruned. So there's two that survived. That one, it's got a bit of green on it, but doesn't look good. This one's got liverwort on the bottom. I got to get rid of that. There's two down here of the larches that did not survive. There's one here that's looking good, the taller one. So that's good. It had a rough start. You can see all the brown needles, but now there's new shoots coming out on it. There's one over here that survived. It's doing well. It's got new growth. A dead one there. This one is looking dead. It had a bit of green up top, but it's fading fast. This one had one shoot on it, but it's fading fast. This one looks really good. This one doesn't look good. You can see the green shoots are kind of going limp. So, yeah, not great success with them, but some success. So the ones that did survive will make good bonsai. I had a pot full of maples. Here's one. This is the Amber Maple, the large one. It's doing really well. It's looking good. And there's the smaller one down below that's also doing well. I wasn't sure if that one was going to survive, but it came back. It's growing strongly now. There's a couple of red maples. I think we're in the same pot. They're doing quite well. They're growing really nicely. Here's my elm. That's the one I've had for quite a while. It was dug up from the yard. It kind of had a split trunk. It's doing really well, coming nicely into leaf. Here's the black locust. It's looking good. The Zokova, looking really good, nice and strong and healthy. Here's another elm that I just dug up this year from the yard. It's looking really good. Behind it is, I don't know what it is. It's just a volunteer plant that just started growing, and yeah, I'll have to figure out what that is. My Franken Ficus here is looking very, very lush, growing really well. Yeah, looking good. I had this pot picked out for it, this oval, kind of cream-colored oval one. It's a fair amount smaller than the pot it's in now. And I thought, if I put it in a smaller pot, I might zap some of the vigor out of it. So I'm thinking of maybe getting a pot more the size that it's in now, because I think it'll grow into that pot nicely in the future. Here's my wonderful ginkgo that got attacked by the boring insects this year. It's still got green leaves on it, which is really good so far anyway. Yeah, everything's looking okay on it now. You can see the holes, the black hole there where they bored in. There's a whole bunch of them all over the trunk. They really did a number on this tree. So I'm still worried about it, even if it survives this summer. I've got to get enough strength in it to get it through the winter, and with leaves this size, it's not going to make it. So unless it picks up quickly and starts growing with vigor this summer, I think it's doomed. I've never had a tree survive boring insects, and I was hoping this would be the first one, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's going to survive. Ficus plain here is getting a nice canopy on it. I got a lot of leaf burn in the spring. They're starting to fall off now, I guess. But it's doing well. You can see there's the trunk down there. Yeah, it's doing really well. Maybe I can get down here. There it is. So I'll keep developing that. It doesn't need pruning yet, but it's getting closer. I just noticed a bit of scale on it there. My thistle, here it is. There's my thistle. It's doing really well. Looks like it's going to flower too. That's kind of cool. I'll just put it here. It's just, it didn't like drying out. If it dries out, it goes limp. So I put it in this tray of water, and it seems to really like that. Oh, the Sarisa, I don't think there's much new growth on it yet. There's maybe a little bit, but not much. Maybe some coming in here. But it'll get there. Yeah, it's going to get there. I imagine the next, week or so, all the new growth will start coming in, and it should look pretty good. But I'm keeping my eye on that just for timing, so if I ever put this in a show, I'll know kind of when to prune it back and when it looks its best after the pruning. So yeah. Here's my acacias. They're all growing well. They don't look much like a bonsai acacia. They're kind of long and scraggly. So I'm waiting for those to get enough strength, and then I'm going to come in and cut them back. Kind of cutting the tops off. Yeah, so they're growing well, and they're surviving and alive. I did lose a lot of branches this winter, but it was a strange winter. I had that plant room under construction, and they had to stay in the cold for a long period of time, so I don't think that was so good for the acacias. They didn't mind the cool weather in fall, but I don't think they like, going down to like plus 10 degrees Celsius and that for long periods of time. The village penjing here is growing really well. I'm letting it grow kind of wild, and then I'm going to come in and do a fairly hard pruning on the trees. I want to get the trunks a little thicker. These are tiger bark ficus. So yeah, they look okay the size they are now, but they could be a little thicker. So I'm letting them grow, and then I'll give them a hard prune. And then by fall, I think all the new growth will come in, and they'll look pretty good, I think. My Nightshade Vine, I pruned that recently, and it's filling out quite well. It reacts well to pruning. And all the suckers grew back in at the base. The Osage Orange Forest over here, growing really well. I did lose a few trees. If we come down here, I've got a dead one here. A dead one out front here. There's a dead one at the back here. Another one here. One over there. I think that's it. So I think I lost maybe 4 or 5 trees total, which is pretty good. And I have no idea, why this one died over another one. This one, the whole top of it died, but then it leafed out down below, which was good. So they're getting pretty tall. They'll need a pruning soon. I think a bit of white fly on them. Yeah, they'll need pruning soon. They're getting pretty tall. My Portulacaria afroforest, I'm letting that grow and grow its doing. So I'm letting, you can see on the main shoots, it's getting all these sub branches. So I let those grow out until they're all kind of drooping, until it becomes just like a overgrown, really overgrown. And then I come in and prune it back hard, midsummer, and then it just explodes in all kinds of new tight growth. So because these are in between, I'm not refining these trees. They're not in a refinement stage. They're more in a development / refinement stage. So I'm growing the trunks thicker, getting a nice branch structure. So I let it have this big vigorous growth spurt every year, and that thickens the trunks up and just makes the trees look much better and more impressive. My hibiscus here, still growing really nicely. Lots of new shoots on it. When they start coming out more, I can prune back the older leaves, kind of replacing the indoor leaves with outdoor leaves, and it should look quite nice. My elephant ear trees back here, they've adapted to the outdoors now, and they're growing again. Looking quite good. This is their 3rd year of growing, and they got quite thick trunks on them already. The white pine, the apex is looking really good. It's really getting dense up here. I wondered, you know, when I collected this, it was just a skinny little scraggly looking seedling. And I thought, is it ever going to look like a bonsai? And I kind of thought, probably would never will in my lifetime. And then, you know, I started doing a little pruning on it. And slowly it's starting to get denser up top. And the more needles you get on it, the more needles you get on it, you know, the more surface area for photosynthesis, the stronger the tree gets, the thicker it gets, and the better it grows. So my crown of thorns down here never fails to disappoint me. I prune it back. It just fills out more and more. Gets beautiful flowers all summer long. It'll get more flowers than this. This is, I'd say, very light flowering at the moment. Sort of probably mid-July, it'll really come out and there'll be pink flowers all over it. It looks really cool. And, you know, slowly the trunk is getting thicker. I will have to do a lot of thinning out in this canopy eventually. It's really, really dense. So, yeah, it's something for the future. Bit of thinning up there. But yeah, I like it as a bonsai. I think it's pretty cool. My little hemlock that I got from Chris Hendry is doing really well. The Cedar Forest here is doing really well. These are all the little seedlings I planted. They were, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 year old seedlings. I planted them in this planting this spring. And I gave the top of the tree a real severe pruning. It's starting to fill out. It's still kind of, you know, a little skimpy on the foliage, but I think as the summer goes on, it'll gain strength. My Cascade Thuja here is looking really good. Lots of nice hanging branches. Yeah, that'll be kind of fun pruning that up someday. I'm letting the trunk thicken up and strengthen. So all that dead wood I got exposed up here. Yeah, quite an interesting trunk on it. The American elms get lots of moss on them, which looks really cool. Look at that. All by itself. They've had a problem with, and I don't know what causes it. I think it's some minor insect in the leaves. And it bores into the leaf and they get this kind of really ugly blister on them. It looks kind of like an alien thing, an alien egg or something. So it's all over the tree. The new shoots are better, but you know, even some of the newer leaves still have it there. They look like mulberries or something. So that's the reaction of the leaf to this insect that's in there. It causes the leaves to swell up, and that's the reaction to these insects. So I'm going to defoliate all these elms, these American elms, dispose of all the leaves, give it a good spray with soap and water, and yeah, see what the second set of leaves looks like. See if they come in really nicely or not. But the trees, you know, they're developing well. And I've read that, you know, these blisters on the leaves don't hurt the health of the tree all that much. I mean, it's not good for it, but they can survive. My big jade cutting with the rough bark that I got at the KW swap meet, well, it had a lot of new growth on it, but it didn't really do much yet. And now I see there's more growth popping out on it. I had, when I initially got it, I put it vertical and planted it. I think this was new growth, all these little buds that popped out, but nothing really developed. So I think now I can see that it's in the sunlight and it seems to be popping out new growth. So I think soon, it looks soft, but now it's hardened. I think soon it's going to get leaves and be healthy. I think it's generating roots down here. That's my hope anyway. My Thuja here, my Cathedral Style. This is kind of the front here. Looking really good. I give that a good pruning this spring. It's coming back nicely. It's getting a few rocket branches on it. Some nice side branches. Looking really good. The roots are looking good on it. I did a lot of root pruning last time, but I think there's still some good live veins coming up the trunk here. That's the danger of these thujas. If you prune roots off, you can get a dead vein growing all the way up the tree. So yeah, we'll see how it develops in the future. Even if it has, you know, some dead sections on the trunk, they heal over eventually, and they look really, you see that in nature all the time. Even big trees, they have big kind of dead sections going up the trunk. So I'm not worried about that too much, as long as the tree stays healthy and continues to grow. This tree has a lot of growing to do still. Getting all those upright branches thickened up and a nice cathedral style. It'll be cool. My Natal Ficus, the one that Joey gave to me, is doing well. Lots of new growth on it. You can see how healthy it is. Getting nice big leaves, which shows it's doing really well. All the old leaves from indoors, they're starting to fall off now as the plant grows, so that's good. Yeah, I'm going to continue working on the root base of this. It was one horrible root base when I got it, and that's just the way it was from the nursery. And I've been doing a lot of root work on this tree, and I would say it's 75% there, but it's still got a ways to go. The Ponytail Palm is doing really well, growing nice, looking really nice and healthy. Yeah, doing well. Over on this bench, I have my Ficus Religiosa. It's got all kinds of new growth coming up top. You can see the pink new growth and the long drip tips on it. Really cool. Yeah, it's doing well. Roots are looking good. It's liking the new pot. Beside it, I have that Jade Cutting, the one I got from Joey. Doing really well. I've done some pruning on that. I can see, you know, maybe I can do some more in the future. Getting these long kind of branches without any taper much to them. Maybe cutting them back and regrowing it. But I got to keep enough vigor on top to, you know, draw moisture out of the soil and keep the tree healthy. So I'll do it slowly over time, prune it up. Over here I've got the Bougainvillea. Doing really well. The outdoor leaves are very small on it compared to the indoor leaves, which are quite large. But it's doing really well. My Snow Queen Hibiscus over here is just growing beautifully. Like, let me just get it out for a second. You know, from the small cutting I started with, it's doing really well, and I'm glad I got the roots sorted out on it. I remember at the back I had a big branch I took off the trunk. Oh, there it is. It's healing over nicely. So that's good to see. It's doing really well. My, I think it's, I don't know what this is. I thought it was a campfire jade, but it might be the same kind of jade that Ashley sent to me from England. I'm not sure. I think it is. It looks the same. So, yeah. But it's really good. It's getting a nice trunk on it. It's in a nice sized pot, so that'll grow quite quickly. That new ficus, the Ficus rumphii, doing really well. It's recovered. It lost a lot of the older leaves on it, but you can see it's growing strongly now after its repotting and root pruning, so that's good. Doing well. I repotted my Ficus Fancy recently, and it's recovered and growing again. Didn't miss a beat. There's the roots on it, the new pot. Yeah, doing really well. Getting a nice dense canopy up top. The Ficus Religiosa here is doing really well. I repotted it into bonsai soil, combed out the roots, getting a nice woody trunk on it. Lots of good, strong new growth. Yeah, doing really, really well. I pruned back my Fiddly Fig recently. Remember, I cut the top off. I had that one side branch. If nothing, you know, sprouted on the trunk, at least I have something to grow it by, a new growing tip. And I noticed the other day that I've got a green bud sticking out here. I've got one over here. So there's at least two. Oh, there's another one back here. So it looks like it's going to put out new branches, which is kind of exciting. So I'll have this really small, compact tree with these giant leaves on it. The apple tree back here is recovering nicely. There's an ant on it. Yeah, the new shoots are forming on the apex here. Some new buds forming down here. So I think, you know, in a couple of weeks that'll be looking better. It'll start filling out a bit more. My witch's tree, the Thuja root over rock, is looking good. It survived some of the hardest rains and long rains. It's been raining like for every day for like 4 days in a row, and really hard rains, like rains of up to, you know, 4 to 6 hours long. So all this moss survived. It didn't wash away. And I think it's because it's such a fine kind of silt clay that it's growing in, that it's just like, it's really good for this application. I haven't found anything that's better. And that just comes from the cracks in your sidewalk. So yeah, it's holding all those roots in place. It keeps them moist. So the tree is, you know, it didn't skip a beat. It's still growing really well. You can see some rocket branches forming on it. Yeah, so that's exciting. I'm glad that technique is working well. I can hardly wait to expose more of the roots growing over this rock. In the greenhouse here, not a whole lot new. There's a new pine here, if you can see that in there. So I had that one that germinated over here, which is looking really cool. And then another one here. So that's 2 out of those that germinated. All the cuttings, these are the lilac cuttings here. They're still green so far. So I've got hope for those. And these ones are kind of wilted, but you know, I think they're gonna make it. The sequoia seedlings, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 on the go. Hoping they do well. The top of that ficus, that Fiddly Ficus, isn't looking good, but it's planted in moist soil. It's in the greenhouse, so I'll see if it survives. No harm if it doesn't. I've still got the original plant that's looking good. Here's the Jerusalem thorns here. They are maturing more every day. Oh, there's a new one popping up out of the soil there. If that is a Jerusalem thorn, I think it is, but I'm not sure. Yeah, that's a new one. This was the first one to germinate, and I think it's about the tallest. This one's catching up, but looking good. And then there's those mystery seeds. I still don't know what they are. In the dogwood section, nothing growing. The hornbeam section, nothing growing. Here's the little succulents from Ashley. So here's those ones I thought looked the same, but I'm not sure they are. I don't know. These are my cashews here. I've got 2 pots here. I've got 1 pot over there. I've got another pot here, 1 here, and 3 up here. So nothing happening with those yet. My Brazilian rain tree, it's still in the greenhouse, recovering from repotting, and it's getting stronger every day. You can see the leaves have folded up now, whereas if I go over to the cuttings here, they are open. So it shows it hasn't fully recovered from the root pruning and repotting yet. But I've noticed every morning the leaves are unfolded, and they stay unfolded till about almost noon. So they're saying, you know, give me light, I can grow. And then when it gets too bright out, they fold up because the roots just aren't strong enough to support them yet. So these trees are amazing. They kind of automatically regulate themselves. If you take them from indoors to outdoors, they don't like the sudden increase in brightness, so the leaves stay closed all day long until they get used to the bright light, and then they start opening up in the daytime. And so they're kind of like self-regulating, which is amazing. I've got some really nice flowers in my Bougainvillea here. This is the one I was trying to grow straight up and down, and you can see I'm getting closer to that. I could prune off this long branch with the flowers, and I'd have a twisty tree that goes almost straight up, but not exactly what I wanted for styling, but I'll go with the flow of the tree. The Norway Maple here is doing really well. It's nice and strong looking. My aloe that's growing in the Mars simulant down here, doing really well. It's got a pup that came off of it. That's doing well also. My smaller Ficus Religiosa, it's in a 3D printed pot. It's growing really nicely. This is as old as my big one. It's just a smaller version. The Manitoba maples here are doing well. Just letting them grow, get them stronger, build up that root system, and then I'll be eventually styling them, getting rid of a lot of the dead branches and trying to clean them up. But yeah, it's, you know, these came from the front garden. They grew from a seed. They're about, I think they're about 15 years old from seed. Yeah. There's the little Douglas fir seedlings down there that Leszek brought me. This is the red maple that I did the big trunk chop on. Growing well. This is my black willow. I haven't done anything to that this year. It needs weeding and needs a bit of a pruning soon. My yellow hibiscus, all kinds of new growth on it, looking good. My pomelo seedlings back here, doing really well, growing strong. My Scots pine and Shani's pot here, looking really good. I can prune that soon, take it back some more. The Douglas firs are looking really good. Yeah, no problems with those. I did some pruning on them for the first time this year, and they're still growing well. It didn't hurt them. My Ficus Microcarpa is looking really good. It's growing nice and strongly, really kind of filling out. Doing well on that new 3D printed pot, looking amazing. The cedars on the elephant diorama back here, or elephant penjing, I gave those a pruning in spring, and you can see how much they filled out. It's really amazing. And how much the sedum has grown. I got to get to that soon. It's just really thick. The larch forest is filling out. You can see the top apex, which looked really sparse compared to the lower branches, is starting to kind of match the rest of the tree now. So it's looking quite nice, actually. You know, the foliage on the top looks about equal to the foliage on the bottom. Well-balanced trees. My royal oaks here, I've got 2 of them, doing really, really well. New growth coming out on them. Yeah, just doing super so far. Getting, you know, good size trunks on them already. The Fujia Forest here, my Cathedral Style Fujia here in the forest. The forest is doing really well. The moss is doing really well. It's doing so well that I've got to get in and prune it soon. It's just becoming like a solid mass of foliage in there. So I got to go in and prune that. The baobab trees here, looking good, growing nice and strong. Oh, I forgot to mention, speaking of baobabs, let's go back in the greenhouse. So over here, I'd given up on the, remember my baobabs I put in boiling water? I'd given up on them. I just thought, I left them in this rag, damp. So I was looking at them the other day. Let me see if I can peel them back. Here they are. They're all moldy, grungy looking, but you'll notice there's one that sprouted. And I think I found another one too. Yeah, in there. There's another one in there that sprouted. So I'm keeping those covered, and I'm going to plant those on the next video. So I'll just keep it kind of covered lightly like that to keep them humid. So I've got 2 that sprouted from that Hawaiian baobab, which is exciting. Here's my fern I planted the other day. It's looking nice still. The back of the Fujia Forest. Here's my silk tree, my mimosa. You can see it doing really well up here. Nice tree, nice feather leaves. They fold up at night too. Here's Ficus cutting of a cutting. This is the back of it. I'll turn it around. So I put it in a new pot, and my idea was to grow it into a bit of a larger tree. And, you know, it's growing really well. My Ginseng Ficus here, looking good. That'll need pruning soon. My willow leaf ficus here, doing really good. It wasn't looking so good after winter. It had scale on it, so I've been scraping the scale off, spraying it, and it's doing really well now. It's recovered nicely, so beginning to grow with tons of vigor. Yeah, it's looking good. My little cedar spirit tree, also doing really well. Tons of character in this trunk. I just love it. Yeah, so I've exposed some of the roots now on it. This is another root over rock planting. And again, that moss with the kind of fine silt it was growing in. It's doing really well as a root covering. And there's my lemon tree, my Cascade lemon tree. I've been doing a lot of balancing on this to keep the apex kind of pruned back and letting the cascading branch grow more. And it's looking good. Yeah, it's looking nice little tree. On the table for tomorrow's video, I've got my wife's rosemary. This tree is 3 years old from a cutting, and the cutting was just, you know, like a thickness like that, just like a branch. And it's done really, really well. So this isn't going to be a bonsai, but she wants me to prune it back to make it more compact so it doesn't take up so much real estate, so it kind of grows more within the pot. So I'm just going to prune it up to make it more compact so she can fit it in her greenhouse a little better. And I'll probably try and root all these cuttings. The cuttings she rooted, she had 6 of them. She rooted them in water, my wife, and all 6 of them rooted, but this is the only tree that made it through the winter. Over on the bench here, I've got my Asparagus Fern. You can see it's just growing like crazy. My Dracaena here, doing really well, growing like crazy. You can see all the new splits on the bark. I think eventually it might get a rougher bark on it. I don't know, but it's getting a lot of splits down the bark. Maybe it'll just stay smooth, but I don't know. My ficus is recovering nicely. My saber leaf ficus is doing really well here, getting a nice canopy. This other corn plant is growing well. My Natal plums doing well. My orange tree here growing really well. My Schefflera, my large leaf Schefflera, the one with the kind of cool, interesting trunk, is looking good. All my Ficus elasticas are doing really well. I've got a clump style back there and a forest here, so they're doing well. My Dracaenas over here doing well, and my guava tree and the silk trees beside it are both growing tall and mighty. And then on this bench I've got my Ficus Benjamina that I did the hard pruning on it. Recovered really nicely. I've got to go in and clean up the branches that didn't do nicely and prune it back to make it more compact. So a lot of branch selection coming on that. So that'll be upcoming in a video soon too. And I'll probably repot it. There's the pot there that I picked for it. Getting it out of the plastic pot into a nice clay pot. My Norfolk Island pine forest in there, growing really well. Nice and healthy. My Ficus root over temple, the one branch that I really wanted to survive did survive. The others kind of died off. So I've got one, branch that survived, which will be the trunk line eventually. So it's recovering. It's doing well. It's not going to die. It's made it through the toughest parts of this hard pruning. The rest is just to grow it out. My lemon tree over here, doing well. Not a lot of new growth on it yet, but I can see there's a new shoot coming. Yeah, some new shoots coming on it. So it's just entering a growing phase, which is always exciting. So I got my second COVID shot today. I feel fine. I don't feel tired at all. I don't feel any side effects so far anyway. So that was an update. I don't think I got every tree, but I got a lot of them. You can kind of see what's going on in the bonsai garden today. Most things are doing well. It's been a good summer, a good humid summer so far. Lots of sunlight, humidity, and rain. Everything a plant needs to grow. And that's what they're doing. And I'm letting them. So I'm just taking it easy today on this really hot, humid day. Keeping my trees watered, doing a bit of weeding and the odd bit of pruning on them. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.